Hello everyone, Jeffrey here, back with another objective personality typing video. With my last video, I looked at Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon had already been typed in the objective personality system, so that video was more about looking at a short clip of him and trying to interpret that clip through the lens of an already established type. This week I want to do something a little bit different. I'm looking at the person who is about to be typed in the classes in the hopes that I'm going to attempt to type her, I'm going to see how I did, and then maybe I'll make a follow-up video or compress that follow-up into this video, part two, where I watch the same clip, try to examine what I missed, if I missed anything. So yeah, the idea is, in this little video series that I'm doing, the idea is that I'm assuming that a person's personality type is available even in the context of a 6-minute clip. Maybe it will be obscured by certain factors. You know, a person's being interviewed, there's a lot of pressure on, so on and so forth. I understand those things, but at the same time, I feel like underneath all of the mess, you should still be able to extract out a coherent type, or at least mostly coherent type. So that's my thinking. Yeah, today I'm looking at RANA El Kaliouby. I think that's how you say her name. I don't know a ton about her. Basically, I know that she is, as you can see on the screen, you probably know about as much as I know at this point, the CEO of a company. Affectiva is about, I guess, creating emotionally intelligent artificial intelligence. So, in any case, I will play the video. I'll commentate as I go. I might highlight certain things here on this typing tool. I don't know if that's the right terminology. In any case, let's get to it.
An online world, we're missing that emotion element. There's a lot of AI surrounding us, but all this AI has high IQ, but no EQ, no emotional intelligence.
RANA El Kaliouby is the CEO at Affectiva, the company developing digital devices to recognize human emotion. RANA is a former research scientist at MIT and joins us now on Cloud Moves TV. RANA, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Now, what problems can your company solve for customers, and why is it so useful to have AI that can actually read and understand human emotion?
So, I'm going to pause at the questions and kind of think about what sort of information is being solicited with that question, and then see where the person that I'm typing takes it. Did they take it in the same direction that the interviewer was trying to go? Did they go in their own direction? And in this case, the question was something like, what problems is your company trying to solve for customers? So that's part one. When I think of problems, I typically think of the thinking function being that capacity of the psyche through which we not only make sense of the world, but attempt to solve problems, troubleshoot, apply skill, apply technique, so on and so forth. So what's being solved for customers? So we're also looking at maybe the spectrum of other people. It's kind of a TE question so far. And then what was part two on that?
Now, what problems can your company solve for customers, and why is it so useful to have AI that can actually read and understand human emotion?
Very similar part two. So what is the use of it? What can it actually accomplish? Again, I see that as being a very thinker-oriented inquiry. What will this AI actually do for us? So in any case, what direction will RANA take this question?
Yeah, so our emotions influence every aspect of our lives, right? From our health and well-being, how we learn, how we connect and communicate with one another, how we make decisions, whether it's a big decision or a small one. And we're finding that as more and more of our lives move to an online world, we're missing that emotion element. There's a lot of AI surrounding us, but all this AI has high IQ, but no EQ, no emotional intelligence. And we want to bring that back into the digital world. Missing that emotion element, that make decisions, whether it's in well-being, how we. So our emotions influence every aspect of our lives.
So I want to look at that statement first, right? So the question was, what's the value, or what is the utility? What problems can be solved? And RANA says,
understand human emotion.
Our
Yeah, so
emotions.
our emotions influence every aspect of our lives.
Our emotions influence every aspect of our lives. So it's a question about thinking, and she's taking it in the direction of feeling. And to me, this is also sort of an intuitive statement, or at least, it can be read as an intuitive statement. I don't know, savior, demon, those things are up for debate, but our emotions influence our decisions. That's like a big picture statement. That's an overview. It's not really full of detail. It doesn't explain the mechanics of how that actually happens or the particular examples, specific concrete examples of areas where that is happening. So she's starting off from an intuitive, big picture statement. You won't be able to see it here, but I'm going to write a note, NF question mark, because she took it in the direction of emotion, the direction of value. She gave us an overview, a big picture. After that overview,
Right, from our health and well-being, how we learn, how we connect and communicate with one another, how we make decisions, whether it's a big decision or a small one.
there she starts to give a few examples of places where our emotions are relevant in our lives. But the example comes after the overview. People who are sensors are more likely, as I understand it, they're more likely to start with, well, look at this. I mean, if you look at our emotions, if you look at our blank, if you look at our blank, and then they'll kind of derive the conclusion and derive the overview from that. Intuitives start with the overview. They feel kind of like pained in a sense to have to then like give you the specifics. They're like, oh, can't you just do that yourself? I mean, that's how I feel as an intuitive. So I'm kind of guessing intuition from this person, but intuition, and I'm saying like being somewhat at ease in the realm of value and emotion and deflecting away from problems that can be solved. Deflecting away from TE. How is that? FE, is that FI? Is that somehow TI and I've missed something? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about TE. But in any case, just some observations.
And we're finding that as more and more of our lives move to an online world, we're missing that emotion element. There's a lot of AI surrounding us, but all this AI has high IQ, but no EQ, no emotional intelligence. And we want to bring that back into the digital world.
We want to bring emotional intelligence back into the digital world. So, you can think about typology as being connected to the voids that we perceive in the world, the voids that we leave in the world, the areas that we're trying to fill in and compensate. And so, generally speaking, her company, and she's the CEO, right? So she kind of has like dictated the mission and the direction and focus of the company. This company is focused on compensating for a lack of emotion and a lack of value, groundedness in the world of technology. So she's compensated. She's trying to fill that void. She perceives the void, she fills the void. So this to me is kind of reinforcing, some of the NF nature that I thought that I was seeing, or at least to focus on values and being comfortable there.
Rana, what kind of industries or companies are actually going to benefit from having emotional artificial intelligence, though? So
I feel like the interviewer is trying to push it back in the direction of thinking. So, like, you deflected, you didn't really tell me what problems are going to be solved by this. Maybe it'll be easier for you to answer that question if you just give me some industries. Like, tell me, I think she even said the word actually, I think.
these are companies that are actually going to benefit from having emotional artificial intelligence, though.
So who's actually going to benefit from having this tool? A tool is also a very like thinkerly way of approaching the world, thinking of the world in terms of tools and objects that have utility to get certain jobs done. Even if it's a more abstract, intellectual NT kind of job, it's still like a mental model, a tool in that sense. So, um, who is this actually going to be useful for? I like the word actual there because as I think about sensing versus intuition, I think of actual as pointing to sensing. Like in reality, show me, like among the tribe here, who is going to be helped by this and who can use it. And so a little bit of an ST approach there, like actually what's going on, show it to me, prove it to me. more TE, I think. I mean, I'm not saying that the interviewer is TE. I'm just saying that that's kind of the archetype. That's the dance that they're participating in. Maybe because they have to as an interviewer.
So our vision is that emotion AI is going to become ubiquitous. One day in the future,
So it's a question about actuality, what's actually going to happen, or what's actually going to be helpful, like maybe in the here and now. And Rana is saying, well, our vision, so that's like we're already moving away from what's actual, what's going to happen. So we're predicting the future a little bit. We're looking away from the here and now to the future. I feel like there was another little marker there of intuition.
our vision is that emotion AI is going to become ubiquitous. One day in the future,
Our vision, one day in the future, gonna become. So she's saying, hey, now this stuff might not be relevant in the here and now. It might not be a useful tool if you're looking at it in terms of ST, but we're kind of predicting where things are going to go. We're looking to the future, so that makes me feel comfortable thinking that this is someone who is intuitive, save your intuition, especially given some of the overviews that we've already looked at. She's kind of shying away from examples, or if she's not shying away from examples, then the examples are more of an afterthought. So again, in the notes that you can't see, I'm going to put, intuitive. I'm going to put NI question mark. This is more of like an MBTI stereotype, but just, the vision, long range, we're not looking at the here and now. That is an anecdote that doesn't always serve you when you're typing in objective personality, but hey, who knows?
all our devices and technologies are going to have a little emotion chip, a little camera with a microphone that can sense and adapt your emotions in real time. But basically, the path to that is applying emotion AI in a number of industries. Everything from media and advertising, to gaming, to education, to social robots.
So, again, we have an area where the examples, which eventually did come, are still an afterthought. I feel like I paused at a critical moment here. She looks a little uncomfortable.
Self-driving cars. And the problem we're solving, for example, in advertising, is that advertising...
A lot of slowdown. So, she told us about the general trend. She told us about some industries, some specific industries. So kudos to you. You kind of answered the question in the way that it was intended to be answered. But now we're talking again about the problem, and the word problem begins to pull upon the thinking function, because you have to define the problem space, and you have to fracture the problem into separate parts and components, and begin to work through how you actually achieve and satisfy the requirements of each task. So that was a really weird abstract way of describing it, but in any case, slow down on problem solving. Let's see what else she has to say.
Users and marketers want to understand how you're responding to their products and their videos, but they can't do that today except by asking you.
Their products and their videos. There's a really... The zoom in on this is really weird, by the way. I just now realized that. I'm not living in reality, and I'm kind of listening and closing my eyes, or at least trying to zone out to process what she's saying, but yeah, this is intense, what's happening on the screen right now. Is that what is it? The NI stare? Oh, shoot, I lost my train of thought. Oh, well. Oh, there's this sing-song thing that she does, the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, whenever she does begin to give examples. And so I see that as a little bit of a state change, and I don't know, it feels kind of manufactured or forced, this is all reliable. If I do have to give an example, I'm going to fall into this old state. I'm going to sing the same old song, and it's kind of a crush, right? It's not organic for her to talk about this stuff. Now, it could be that Dave and Shan release their typing video and they get Save Your SE or something, and I'll look back on this and be oh, look at how calm and relaxed she was talking about the examples, whereas everything else was a little more forced. I don't know, there's a degree of detective work and interpretation that is difficult with this stuff, so I just want to acknowledge that ambiguity. Onward.
Responding to their products and their videos, but they can't do that today except by asking you. And for most people, most people are biased. If you ask them what do you think, they'll say, "Oh, great," whereas they may not really like it.
So that was weird because I don't feel like she really communicated what she intended to communicate. Like, there was no closure. There was no, I think of it almost like blasty closure. So, she's trying to answer how this tool will help these industries. And there's an implicit answer. The answer is if you're trying to get feedback from customers, customers will tend to either not know how they really feel or they'll kind of bullshit you to make you happy. And technology like this will actually be able to read their emotionality in a way that will be hard to fake, so you can really factor in consumer feedback and you can build a better product. See, that whole operation that I described, that was a very thinkerly kind of way of approaching this question, and she kind of just left it nebulous and left it hanging there and didn't quite stick the landing. So I'm also feeling more and more confident as time goes on that this is about feeling above thinking. Also starting to suspect not a ton of blast, not savior blast or not double activated blast. I don't know. Not double activated.
Rana, how do you actually train or teach AI to recognize human emotion? What's the process you have to go through?
How did you actually, in reality, do this? What was the process or process? um, you know, we're just stuck on like the ST of how did you make it work in reality? Show it to me. Prove it to me.
So we use computer vision and machine learning to train an algorithm to read emotions.
We use computer vision and machine learning to train an algorithm to read emotions.
And basically what that means is we've accumulated millions.
Okay, so that was kind of a big picture start, right? You can't really replicate what she's done if you're just running off of that overview. So more intuition, yeah. And it sounds like we're about to get basically and unpack that a little bit.
Millions and millions of people's expressions. What that means is we've accumulated millions and millions of people's expressions, facial expressions, and we give it examples of people smiling, people frowning, people smirking, and it learns.
There's that sing song again, and she even says examples. We gave it examples of da 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 da. Examples are a very, it falls within the scope of the sensory. We showed millions and millions of faces. Like, we're showing stuff now. We're talking about, things that we could achieve some kind of like intersubjective agreement that this is more objective, this is more real.
It's a difference. It looks at the shape changes, the movement on your face, and that's how it learns these different expressions.
Rana, do you think we should be encouraged?
Again, a little bit of trailing off. I didn't feel like that was like a perfect blast or sticking the landing, but she's doing her best. She's doing about as well as I do on most days.
Encouraging artificial intelligence to become as advanced as possible, and do you think there does come a tipping point where actually it's quite dangerous?
Okay, should we encourage AI to become more advanced? What will happen? When we start talking about happening, when we start talking about predicting the future, we're in the realm of observer land. We're thinking about observations. We're thinking about, is this going to be a deadly thing? And so, I recently re-listened to my typing audios that I got from Dave and Shan way back when, and I think they said something like, the decider stuff, the stuff about like judgment, identity, is very narrow. And then everything else falls into the scope of observation. So I have that in the back of my mind because I feel like it can really clarify and make the typing process easier for me if I start to internalize it. So, in any case, the AI conversation is an observation question or conversation.
I think we have to
So, where will she go with it? Will she be all in on it being dangerous, it not being dangerous? Will she be measured? How does she take it? Does she care? Does she not believe the hype?
And do you think there does come a tipping point where actually it's quite dangerous?
I think we have to be very thoughtful about the applications. We have stayed away from any use case where people are not giving their consent, to turn the camera on or share this type of data because it's very personal.
So there is danger involved in AI. We have to be thoughtful about it. We have to be careful about it. And her company in particular is being very careful with when it comes to consent. So I see consent as, I've already started gravitating towards seeing her as a feeler. And to me, this kind of just reiterates that. So she's inflecting on the consent. We're working very hard to be ethical throughout this entire process with our AI.
For example, we've stayed away from all security applications because we feel that people are not necessarily
Another example that comes after a broader kind of overview.
approving or giving their consent for this data to be collected. On the other hand,
Anytime I hear "on the other hand," that's when I start to slow down a little bit. So, in a double decider, for example, you'll hear like, and on the other hand, like, those people are jerks. On the other hand, I really was an asshole anyway. And so I don't know. That just causes my ears to perk up, but whatever.
I firmly believe that AI is here to assist people. It's not a human versus machine kind of war. It's more of a human augmentation. So AI can help us become smarter. It can help us make decisions that are more informed.
I like that she's kind of acknowledging a little bit of the full scope of, it can definitely be dangerous and we're trying to offset it by being more ethical. And then I like that she said the thing about AI not being a human versus machine kind of war. It's more about human augmentation. So even if she sees the dangers of AI, she's not framing it in a decider way, I would say. This is somebody whose life is more about like the pathways and the observations, and she's not really that concerned about judgment and seems, balanced on, her whatever her thing is and somehow contributing to other people as well. Double deciding, single observing, I think. And when she's freaking out about AI, she's not freaking out about AI in terms of it being a war between the machines and the people. And I see a lot of people, well, I feel like that is a single decider way of freaking out about AI. And I think that, any real concerns that I have around AI are not necessarily about nefarious, malicious machines that are suddenly, activated and have this horrible intent and are proactively trying to destroy mankind. No, I don't think that that's how it works. I don't know. I think that if there are things to be concerned about with AI, it's more like something taking on a life of its own and without any ill intent, just blindly beginning to iterate a destructive process or a process that does have, consequences that that are beyond the scope of what was programmed into the AI. So I don't know. I think that human beings are complicated. We have millions and millions of years of evolutionary history to draw on, even if we aren't always conscious of that in our decision making. It informs and shapes the way that we approach reality. And I think that you could just create. I'm going down like an observation rabbit hole right now. This is definitely an observer freak out. So maybe I'll drop it. Yeah, I've gone on for way too long. But my point is something like the thought that we could just like design something that could very easily and automatically right out the gate have that kind of like ancestral wisdom built into it, that evolutionary wisdom built into it, is a little suspect to me. So this is not about me. This is about RANA El Kalouby. So we're going to keep moving.
Yeah, so that's our point of view.
Rana, you are a fantastically successful woman in technology, so I want to talk a little bit about that area. There's a lot of energy.
A woman in technology, a woman in this industry, having this identity in this industry, seems more on the decidery side, I guess, maybe DE, given that it's like collective, women, industry, whatever.
And passion surrounding the subject, but what actions do you think the IT community can actually take that's going to have the biggest impact on closing that gender gap, because it is quite a male-saturated industry?
I feel like this lady just keeps spitting out like very similar questions, even though the details are different. The heart of the questions are the same. So, yeah, male saturated. What can we actually do to have an impact and solve this problem? The problem being, DE wise, there's not an equitable arrangement. There's not, power isn't evenly distributed among the people in this industry, and visibility isn't evenly distributed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
The gap, because it is quite a male-saturated industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very passionate about getting more women, if they want to be in STEM and have technology careers.
Interesting. I'm very passionate about getting more women, if they want to, in STEM. So, what do I hear from that? I hear like, I don't want to tell anyone what to do. I don't want to direct them, guide them, blast at them. Not only that, but I don't want to violate their introverted decider. I'm not going to override that. If that's what they want, if that's what they see for themselves, then have at it. So, maybe somebody who is FI and who, respects the FI of other people, or the DI of other people. Man, these notes I'm taking are trash. I can't believe I'm gonna share them afterwards. Okay, so yeah, not forcing that. Let's see.
So I think the one thing that we can do to encourage more women in technology is to have this authentic belief that diversity matters.
So that's not really solving a problem, right? Having a belief, an authentic belief that diversity matters. So again, we're in the realm of value here. We're in the realm of feeling. So all we really need to do to solve the problem is change our values. If we can all understand what matters, authentically change our beliefs and factor this thing of diversity into our beliefs, then everything else should just shake out as it needs to. That's kind of what I'm seeing there.
When you are building products for the entire world, right, half of which are women, then you need women representation as part of the design process, the implementation process, the marketing, the selling.
Rana, how was your own summit to success? Did you come across many barriers and obstacles?
I definitely have. So my background, I grew up as an Egyptian in a Muslim country, and I made my way through, studying at Cambridge.
If I wasn't just looking at this one video, then I would definitely be curious about her background as a Muslim woman and what kinds of struggles she faced there.
University, and then joining MIT, and then starting a company. So it definitely wasn't easy. I will say that I met a lot of naysayers, but I met a lot of people who believed in me and supported me and mentored me, and they...
This is also kind of reaffirming my perception of double decider right now. So I feel like if you're a Muslim woman, you could really say a lot from a decider standpoint about like particular people and particular groups that have victimized you, or you could say a lot about your unique identity and trying to fight for that, to establish that. And she kind of just lets that all go by the wayside. And then she acknowledges that there have been people who were against her on her path, but simultaneously there are people who support her. And the whole game of dealing with people and dealing with the judgments of people is kind of like, it's more even-handed, right? And I think we even see that with the observation, the fact that she's going all in on this AI, playing this AI game, AI kind of being the single observer uh, issue that she's contending with. She's like, yeah, it's a tool, a thinky tool, but we can make it more emotionally savvy and build that in. So there's balance there. Um, and maybe she's leaving more of a void when it comes to like the actuality. She might be, too much of a dreamer, or is like stuck in the gear and not currently able, or not fully able to. I'm not saying that she can't make us an actuality. Just saying that maybe that's like a little more difficult and maybe a little more triggering, and that's sort of what comes later, especially if she is lower in blast.
They made the difference. So I do encourage women out there to find people who are champions for them.
And Rana, what can we do to inspire young females to consume more STEM education, and what age do you think this should start?
Wait, how do we inspire women? So like, how do we change them? Is that like a blaster thing? Like, what can we do to take this group of people and send them down a particular path, a particular direction, and then, what particular age is the right age? That's such a weird question to me. That's such a like censor question to me. Like, give me a specific. So at this point, from what I've seen of Rana, I am not anticipating that we will get a very specific answer on the age. And I don't know. Well, I don't know what she'll say about like how to get women there. So maybe it'll just be another thing of like adopting a particular belief. If we just have this value, everything will fall into place.
To inspire more young women to pursue a career in STEM, I think it needs to start very early. And what I found in my experience is that young girls are mission driven, are purpose.
She said very early, so she didn't get too specific. Yeah. I don't know if that's a point for me, but I'm gonna take it as a point for
What
me.
I found in my experience is that young girls are mission driven, are purpose driven. So if you pose any problem, even if it's a technological problem, as a problem that will help humanity, that will help solve a problem, you'll find a lot more girls interested.
Amazing.
Found in my experience is that young girls are mission driven, are purpose driven. So if you pose any problem.
Young girls are mission driven, they're purpose driven. A lot of people will just project something of their own psyche onto other people. When she was a girl, I'm sure that she was mission driven and she was purpose driven, and that sounds very NI, it sounds very FI. I'm starting to think that this is someone who is NIFI sleep. And yeah, mission, purpose. I just feel like those concepts are kind of in alignment with that. And what did she say? Something about how if you have like
young girls are mission driven, are purpose driven. So if you pose any problem, even if it's a technological problem, as a problem that will help humanity, that will help solve a problem, you'll find a lot more girls interested.
Even if it's a problem involving technology and dealing with the thinking, as long as you're on board with like the value and the purpose and the mission, then you could surmount even that. So I see like thinking here being a little bit of an afterthought. And not only that, but what did she say earlier? Something I meant to say something about it. It's like AI has scary components, but it can make us smarter and it can make us do things better. And I saw that like the human beings are filling the for her, the human being is filling the feeler role, creating these limits in the AI around what's appropriate, and then the void that the AI will fill for her is that it will make her smarter. So there's kind of like that's where she perceives there to be a deficiency. And like obviously, yeah, AI will make us smarter, but I don't know that that's something that would like ever be part of the narrative that I would have when I'm thinking about this stuff. So, you kind of have to like take everything with a grain of salt. You could say that, you could even agree with it, but is that the kind of thing that is going to naturally strike you as being most relevant when you're in an interview setting, or when you've been thinking about this stuff for much of your life and this is your life's work? So yeah, I don't know what else. There's a little bit left. I don't really want to watch all of it, but
Amazing.
oh
And
well.
Rana, just one very last question. What would you say to those individuals who actually haven't been able to attend Web Summit today and are thinking of coming next year? What would you say to those people?
Web
There are other people out there. What do you have to say to them? How do you get them to come here? I don't really know what she's doing.
Summit is a phenomenal place to meet people who are, potential collaborators, who are potential partners, investors. I come here and I get inspired by all the different startups and what they're doing. It's a phenomenal event. I am loyal as ever. I'll be back for sure.
I hope we get to interview you again as well. Rana, thank you so much for speaking to us. Real pleasure to have you.
All right. Interesting. Let's see. Can I turn this off? Heck yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm perceiving something in this realm. I think even in that last bit of like trying to do some cheerleading to get other people excited about this, she seemed like a little nervous about motivating the tribe, playing the rah-rah game with the tribe. I don't know if that's a low blast. I don't know if that's having DE third or having play low, but yeah, so I think I'm seeing an NF type. I think I'm seeing someone who is more on the OI side, more on the DI side. Probably someone who is Demon Blast, and then of these two, is she more info oriented or is she more energy oriented? I mean, that's tough. I guess if I had to guess, I would say, that's so tough. Both of these types will be introverted, and I'm seeing a lot of introversion, a general introverted demeanor about her. I'm like losing steam here at the end of the video. It's going on too long. Well, regardless, I guess if I had to say, I would say that she's double feminine. She is NIFI, sleep, consume, play, blast. So that'll be my final guess, and we'll see in the follow-up how that went. All right, bye-bye for now. All right, so I'm back at it with part 2 on RANA El Kaliouby. So today is Tuesday, and her objective personality type just came out, and I gotta say, after recording the first part of this video, I went and watched her being interviewed on Lex Friedman's podcast, and I said, uh-oh, this person seems a lot more extroverted than I actually thought. So maybe this like weird thought leader interview taking place in this really constrained setting was a bad place to start, as far as like getting a feel for who she really is, because clearly we can all do everything. We can bullshit to some degree. If you're being interviewed in a setting like this, a tech conference or tech summit, then I'm getting blasted by sunlight. Well, it doesn't matter. If you're getting interviewed at something like this, then you probably have like queued up answers that you always go to, whereas over the course of 2-hour long interview or however long the other interview is, then there's more space for sort of the facade to fall away and to see people's patterns play out a little more organically. Now, like I said, I still believe that things can be pulled out of any kind of interview. It's just that, how jumbled are the signals. That's essentially the way that I see something like this. So with all that said and the caveats out of the way, you can see here on the typing tool, so I had guessed double feminine, NIFI, sleep, consume, play, blast, and she ended up being double feminine, SIFI, consume, play, blast, sleep. So how do you analyze that? I feel good in many respects because I got the modalities right. I got that she was an observer. I really tuned into the FI versus TE distinction, and I feel like the stuff that I had to say about that in part 1 of the video is the strongest argumentation that I articulated there. felt good about consume versus blast. I got that right. And then I missed OE versus OI, sensing versus intuition, play versus sleep, and energy versus info. So, yeah, what to say about this? Okay, so another reason that I feel pretty good about my guess is that if you're someone who is blast last, where's my mouse? Blast last as I guessed, then what that would mean is that your consume would be double activated. So you'd be seeing a lot of consume, and for this particular type, that would be SEFI consume. So, I think I was seeing something there. Now, I could have probably been more careful. I could have picked a better clip to analyze from, even if I only looked at 6 minutes from the middle of a 2-hour interview or towards the end of a 2-hour interview. Maybe that would have been a little more insightful or illuminating. One thing that I said in my original analysis of her video is that I could see that she was filling the feeling void, creating this app that compensates for the fact that this technology can get out of hand. I think more specifically, I could have probably made a case that she was filling the SF void and this digital NT world. So I could have, I was being kind of conservative and safe, but if I hadn't played it so conservatively, then I might have landed in the right spot. Another thing I said about, I think maybe 14 minutes into, actually I have the timestamp, 1440 into this video that you're watching now, and in part one, 1440, I did say, I wouldn't be surprised if Dave and Shan come out and say that she's Savior SE and that I'm interpreting the state wrong. I feel like I kind of strained to say, whenever she's giving examples, her state's changing, which is true. I saw that right. But I perceived it as being awkward, or I was trying to make a case that it was awkward. I think because I already came into this wanting her to be NIFI for some reason, or perceiving her in that way, and perceiving her as like dopey, low energy, kind of mopey. But, if you go back and watch some of those examples, and I hope that I can, I don't even know. I'll just click into an arbitrary place.
Emotion AI is going to become ubiquitous.
No, this is not going to work. I don't have this set up here for the audio, but I talked about that sing-song kind of quality where she starts to fall into a groove of giving examples. And, the more I'm thinking about that, I'm wondering if I was seeing masculine NI, where she was kind of starting with the overview, but she was starting in kind of a strained, slower state. And then when she got to talk about the specifics, it can help in this industry, whether it's healthcare, technology, and then she's giving examples, and those examples are really her comfort zone, even if she is, clearly she's a CEO of a very interesting, groundbreaking, maybe necessary company. So she's going to be well-rounded. She's going to have like her bases covered in a lot of ways. What else to say? I kept talking about I was looking at her in terms of, the value and what matters, and I'm not sure why I went to the NF, because it does seem like she is trying to really enact change in the real world, and she's talking about what matters in the real world. When she was answering the question about diversity, she said, we need to have an authentic belief that diversity matters, and then that will solve the problem. I use that as an example of feeling above thinking. If we just get our values right, then the problem will sort itself out. And maybe, again, this is a place where I was too conservative, because, she's talking about literally having the right values at the company, so that real people are in the right places, and so she's not as detached from reality as intuition can be. I don't even know what a more NF response would be to that question. So maybe that's something that I need to stew on and really think about. But in any case, yeah, so those are some things that I'm reflecting on, things that I think that I missed. I'm really glad that I caught myself on the Savior SE and at least mentioned it as a real possibility. Um, in that original, in the original part of this video, I didn't really say a lot about sleep versus play, so the sleep kind of just fell into place as a result of thinking I was seeing NI and FI. So one thing that I do wish that I had done differently is maybe draw upon the distinction that Habib has created of omnivert versus ambivert. So, oh, that's my cat. Hi, buddy. Here's your food. An omnivert is someone who is leading with animals who are parallel in energy or in extroversion. So play and blast are both extroverted animals, right? So that is an omnivert. Blast, play, omnivert. Sleep, consume. We're going all in on the direction of introversion. So that's also omniverted. In contrast, if you're consume, play, play, consume, then you're getting consume as introversion, play extroverted. Or if you are sleep and then blast, then you're mixing. So those different dispositions or arrangements, that's what Habib has called ambiverted. So ambivert versus omnivert. I feel like you can usually get a pretty decent read on a person when you're watching them as to whether they fit into either one of those categories. So, Tiger Woods, I'm like, okay, this is clearly somebody who's like energetically all in one direction. Tony Robbins, someone who's clearly energetically all in on the opposite direction, but they both have in common that they're omniverted. Okay, so hopefully that's clear. I think that especially if I had seen the Lex Friedman clip, then I would have seen that this is somebody who kind of has her toes in both worlds, which would have meant consume, play, play, consume, or blast, sleep, sleep, blast, and then seeing Savior consume probably would have eliminated the blast sleep half. So yeah, I think I might try to draw on that distinction in the future just to see if I get any mileage out of it. And I perceived her as somebody who's kind of mopey, but at the same time, even in this interview, she's not Savior Blast, but she is a competent communicator. She's keeping up. She's keeping up in the external world. She's doing these TED Talk-esque things, so probably shouldn't have put Blast last. I don't have a lot to go on for energy versus info, but I feel like all the information I needed was there for me to make a pretty good judgment, and I just missed a few things or maybe went too quickly, which is the point. I'm trying to refine my ability to type quickly. Sorry, I got to do some cat food retrieval. So in any case, I'm going to call it there because I think I've gone on a little too long, and this video is going to have a pretty lengthy runtime in general. So anywho, thank you for watching. Hope you appreciate it. If you liked it, subscribe because I'm going to be doing more stuff like this, and I will catch you some other time, some other place. Bye-bye.